Do you wake up dreading the job that you worked so hard to get? The ladder that you worked so hard to climb? You are now looking at it and wondering if you can continue going full steam for the next 20 years doing what you've been doing every single day of your work life. You don't even have time to do the things that light you up, and you are questioning every part of your career decisions. Well, I want you to know that you're not alone. I was in your path just a few years ago, and in this video I am going to give you practical, tangible steps to start building your freedom path out of corporate while you are still working in your high pressure 9 to 5 at a Big 4 firm. Let's get right into it. Hi, welcome back to Rich Woman Revolution. My name is Rebecca Muriuki. I am a corporate exit strategist and a human design wealth mentor, and I help high achieving women in corporate redefine success and start to really intentionally design a life after corporate while building a confident, well thought out strategic corporate exit plan that allows them to leave without losing income and without starting a business. And that's one of the best parts of what I do. As I was thinking of some of the things that were so poignant or important or impactful while I was going through these motions of how have I even gotten to this place in my corporate career. I am so successful on paper, and even just sharing some of the frustrations that I was experiencing internal and this internal pull to leave, it was really hard to share it with a lot of people. Even some of my friends would look at my career and think, wow, you have it all. Why would you want to do anything else? And when I started to imagine a life outside of my Big 4 for a job, that is when I started to realize that actually your job can actually be a huge opportunity. Is actually like your first investor in the next thing that you're going to do that is going to bring income. So let's go into it. So the first step is to start seeing your job as an investor, is to start seeing that paycheck as seed capital. And when I started to see that my paycheck differently, I started to do things differently with the money that I was earning from corporate. Up to that point, I was very disciplined on saving every month, putting money into a money market fund or a savings society, which is one of the savings vehicles in this part of the world in Kenya. But when I started to look at what I had created over the 10 years, it just didn't match up to all the hard work that I had put in. One of the key moments, or one of the sort of penny drop moments literally, was when I got my first pay raise as an associate director. It was actually a pretty decent pay raise on paper, like it was double digits, but when it translated into what came into my bank account, I was like, there is no way I have put in all this hard work, sacrificed time away from my family, from my kids, put my values on the backbench for this corporate job, only to end up with an extra $292. Absolutely no way. Like, the government got an even better fair share of that pay raise than I did. And that's when I started to see my paycheck as seed capital and not the promised land. And so it's so important that you start thinking of where can you start putting your money to work for you even harder. A savings fund, money market fund, is not going to create options for you to leave your job and replace your income. I say that again, a savings fund is not going to create financial freedom for you. One of the exercises that I do with my clients is what I call the freedom number, which, by the way, if you want to get the worksheet, drop the word freedom in the description or in the comments of this video and I will send you this worksheet. And in this worksheet, we work out what is the number that you need to work towards in order to actually finally put in that resignation letter, using your job, using your paycheck as seed capital. And it is not just 6 months of expenses, because we are also intentionally building a lifestyle that you will love. And if you will leave your corporate job and only have 6 months of expenses, you're not going to have a lot of freedom or leeway to do things that even light you up, because a lot of the things that we want to do as women, unfortunately or fortunately, do require money. So that's the first mind shift that I would like you to take is to start seeing your job as seed capital and start working towards that freedom number and be very crystal clear on what it is for you. The second thing is start to find meaning in your work. And I know how difficult this can be when you just feel like you are just punching in the hours. You feel like it's almost robotic or transactional. You're just showing up just so that you can get the paycheck and you're just counting down the days literally to the weekend. How I made this shift was I started really pouring into my team, pouring into the people that looked up to me, pouring into the people who worked for me. And it really brought in a much more, important sense of worth in the work that I was doing, instead of just looking for that meaning in the actual deliverables, the client work, which started to mean less and less of an important thing to me towards the tail end of my days as an associate director. Step number 3 is start building your alternative income streams. Now, this is very much linked to step number 1, which is using your job as seed capital, but this goes even further to start thinking of what other ways you could earn money outside of a corporate construct. Now, one of the things I love about this exercise that I do with my clients is you can still somehow be tied to a corporation, but you have so much more freedom than the freedom you have now. For example, I do corporate consulting right now, but I do not have to clock in at 8 and clock out at 5. In fact, one of my corporate consulting contracts is not even in the country I live in, all right? And that has given me so much more freedom and flexibility, but it is still bringing in income. An alternative income stream is not just start a business. In fact, that's the last thing on the list that I advise my clients to do. And we also look at your human design as you pick what income stream to pursue, because different human design types will be more attuned or acclimatized to different ways of making money outside of corporate. And trust me, there are so many ways that you can make money outside of corporate once you start applying your mind to it. And if you want to explore what this looks like for you, then definitely book a corporate breakup call, which also is going to be in the description of this video, and we can start to explore what that would look like for you as you decide on the next steps of your corporate career. Something else that I want to say on this creation of income is, while this can feel a bit daunting, it can also feel a bit overwhelming, especially in a high pressure corporate environment like the Big Four. I want you to start to treat this as importantly as the hours that you are putting in to build someone else's legacy, right? You are building the partner's legacy in your Big Four job, right? You're not building your own legacy, you're building someone else's legacy. So how can you be as intentional? For me, I did have to sacrifice some time on weekends for about 3-4 years of my life. I did have to sacrifice time off Netflix, which I am now trying to recover and watch all the shows that I missed during that time that were, trending. But this is going to pay off in the long run, because if you do not start now, it just is going to be so much more and more and more challenging to do it when you finally decide to do it, like 6 months from now, 12 months from now. So start working on it now, even if it's just ideation, even if it's just getting, other people on board to support you, investors. Start thinking about it now and planting those seeds, like the sooner than later. And of course, you do need to check that there are no conflicts of interest with your corporate employer. But I am also seeing more and more that corporate employers are recognizing the importance of side hustles, because they can see how many people are not actually getting fulfillment from their corporate jobs as much as they are from all the things they do outside of their corporate jobs. So don't be shy to explore what the possibilities are. And this brings me to my next point, which is daily execution, right? Daily execution does not mean you're now adding another 4 hours to your already full 12-hour workday. day, this could be as little as 1 hour a day. And I remember when I was starting my corporate career, I was still doing my professional papers. And one of the things we did I had another friend, we would come into the office literally at 6, I think it was like 6:30. We would be in the office at 6:30 and we would put in 2 hours straight of studying every single day, Monday to Friday. And if you can put in the same amount of discipline into building your financial runway, into working on these alternative income streams, into learning a new skill or mastering a skill that you already have, in 6 months' time, you will have so much more options than if you just hope that one day you will be able to say goodbye to your corporate job. It does require that level of discipline and focus, but when you put in the reps now, imagine how life is going to be when you're doing this every single day, like every single working hour of your life. Okay, then the last step is to prepare mentally for the exit. Now, this is the one thing that is not talked about enough in what I hear people talking about when they say they transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur or an employee to a coach or whatever they started doing outside of their corporate job. People don't talk about the identity shift enough, and this is something that I experienced full on thick in my first 3 months after leaving corporate. Because when you're in a high stakes, high title corporate job, you get used to people needing you, to people looking for you, to your team needing you, to walking into boardrooms and, people actually respecting what you have to say. And all of a sudden you go from that to now you're on your own. You don't have, that big brand next to your name. You've got to build an identity of your own that is not tied to a corporate name. And this can be really challenging. But if you start working on it now, first of all, start detaching your sense of worth from your corporate employer. You are not your corporate title. You are so much more worth than like attaching yourself to a name or to a corporate brand. Start to make those detachments now and start to get your sense of self-worth, to get your sense of who you are from things that are way more important in life, and from the things that you value most, right? So for me, for example, one of my biggest values is family, is my children, and being a present and loving mom to them. And so I had to start, detaching from these tangible things to things that are in my control, like being a present mom, right? And even higher than that, the fact that I didn't play with my kids yesterday afternoon does not make me a bad mom. It's also important that you detach from tangible things and you start to derive your sense of self-worth from just you. You being you, we can't even quantify. I can't even quantify what your worth is. Raise your level of identity way above the tangible things, way above this corporate title. And when you leave, it is going to be so much easier from an identity perspective to let go of those things. And even when people ask you what you do or where you work, you're not going to have triggers internally, like sort of telling you, oh, now you're worthless because you don't work at firm XYZ anymore. Okay, I hope you enjoyed these tips that I shared with you. I am so excited to continue to share more tips with you every single week on how to really thoughtfully and intentionally prepare for your corporate exit and leave on your own terms so that you can start creating a life that truly fulfills you and doing work that truly lights you up every single day, like I do and the women that I work with are doing. All right, I will see you in next week's show.